Right, this is a very short video to show you how to create certain graphic details in Onshape, in particular vector logos. So as you can see here, we've got the eraser. Earlier on, I showed you how to add the Staples logo by just using the text to write in STAPLES and then using the basic drawing tools to draw over the letter L, which has got the curve on it. Now, there is another way of making logos. As you can see here, you could take a picture off the internet and trace it, which is fine if it's a fairly simple one. But where it falls down a little bit is when you can't find the correct fonts. And if, like on Onshape, doesn't have that many fonts to choose from. So you've kind of got to go with the graphic. And this is quite a good technique that designers use because they usually have access to all the original artwork and original logos. So this is how you go about it. We have got access to most logos, not all of them, but we've got access to most of them. For the time being, I've only got the ones that you're most likely to use. So stationery brands like Beryl, Staedtler, Papermate, and so on. If you do come across any other brands that you particularly want to use in your work, if you just ask me or put a comment in one of the classrooms, in particular where we're going to be finding these from, if you put a comment in there, that'll lead me to request what it is that you're after, and I'll see if I can find it and put it in there. So let's crack on. So let's go to a file. Maybe we actually. So we'll use that one, and I'm gonna go and hide these sketches by. I can just click on the eyeball corner. There we go. And then also suppress that extrude and turn the eyeball off. So that sketch is gone. Right. It's still there, but I'm going to show you from the start how we go about it. So to bring in some artwork, first you need to know where you're going to put it. So we select the face where we're going to put the artwork there, and then sketch. So same usual process. Normally we would go and add text if we were going to do some branding, but for us, we're going to add a logo. So to add a logo, we need to go to Insert, DXF, or DWG. You can also insert an image. Now, this is good if you want to insert just a picture that you've copied and saved off the internet, and then you might want to use that as a basis to trace over. All right, that can be quite effective sometimes to just trace over, but we're going to use ones that we've already got. So it's a DXF or a DWG. Now, before all of this, I've actually done a little bit of preparation work. I've found the logos. I've copied them from Illustrator. They start out life as an Illustrator EPS file. So I've taken them from EPS, copied them then into 2D design, ungrouped them, taken the color out, put a line around the edges, and then exported that back as a DXF. So it takes a few stages, which later on you might be able to do yourself, but for the time being, I've done it for you. Now, I'm on a Chromebook, and this is quite important because I spent ages earlier trying to figure out how I could import my graphic, because it should show up at the bottom here. And the reason I can't see it is because my screen default has cut it off. So a really good little tip, when you go to insert your DXF, if you can't see the bit that says import at the bottom, like I can't, and even if I move it aside, I can't see the import button down there, what you need to do is zoom out. So on your keyboard, you're going to press Control minus, and Control minus is zoom out, Control plus is zoom in. All right, so by going Control minus, I've zoomed out a little bit, and that's given me this import button, which I can see. That's really important. So if you can't see the things that you need, Control minus to zoom out, Control plus to zoom back in. Right, so we've gone Insert DXF. We're going to go to Import. And the way that you're going to get your imported graphic, first of all, before we do that, we need to download it. So should have done that first, really. Now, you'll find the graphics. Let's cancel that a second. We'll come back to that in a minute. Should have done this in a different order. But first of all, before anything, we need to go to your graphics. Now, in your classroom, you will find a folder called Helpful Resources. And in that folder, there's going to be an example toolkit example portfolio for you there. There's the Onshape icons, and there's this folder here called vector and artwork files. So if you click on that, and you can see the original EPS Illustrator files, and then the ones that I've converted from Illustrator EPX into DXF. So there's the Brown logo, Beryl, Staples, Staedtler, Stabilo, Papermate, Lego, Helix, and Edding logos. So whichever one of those you want to use, I'm going to use the Stabilo logo, I think, today. So we'll select it, right click and download. So that's going to download into your drive somewhere. If you're not sure, you can click on show in folder, and that will show where that has been downloaded to. So you're taking it out of the shared drive for the classroom, and it's going into your drive there. So we're looking for that file, stabilo.dxf. Right, so back into Onshape, do that all over again. So we've clicked the top, we've gone to Sketch, and then from Sketch, we're going to go to the image there, insert DXF or DWG, and then import. Remember, if you can't see the import button, you need to zoom out. And then, because we've now downloaded that file, we're looking in our My Drive file for the stabilo.dxf, and it's in there. Sometimes if you can't find it, you might need to view it by order of when you created it, but the stabilo.dxf is there. All right, so we're going to open that. So it brings in the Stabilo DXF logo. That will create a separate little tab at the bottom for you. And when you click to select it, you can see there it's come in. Now we need to be careful. I mean, first of all, you can see that that's quite big. All right. And this is where you do need to be quite careful. So before we do anything, I'm going to put it into top view. So right click in an empty space and go view normal to sketch plane. Now, it's too big. So very carefully, what we're going to have to do is to scale that to make it smaller to fit into our eraser. Typically, the length is going to be about 30 millimeters for it to fit nicely on there. So what we've got to do is click and drag as if we were in any other program to select. And we're just going to select all of those little points of the drawing. Now that they're all selected, you can go to Dimension. And I mean, it's up to you really where you go. You can use the height of the T, or you could measure from side to side. I might actually just do the height of the text. So click, click, and pull out, and then click. So the height of the text at the minute is 9.37 millimeters. If I change that to something like 5, then it should convert the whole thing down to a smaller size. Now I'm fairly sure that's going to fit, so we can click off the dimension now. Select all of those points again, so I'm going right outside of it just to make sure that everything is selected. And there's lots of little points in there. If you're on another computer, it might take a while to load up. And then carefully click and drag. You might need to let it catch up a little bit. Click and drag to move it into position. Now you can see that that is still not the right size. It's actually still too big to fit onto the page. It's not a problem. I'm just going to make the height of it, instead of 5, make it 4. And that should have made it a decent enough size now. So I can, and I'm going very slowly, don't get too impatient. Click and drag, and then my Stabilo logo is nice and correctly positioned. So we can OK that sketch. It is tricky, you do need to be careful, and there's lots of points on there, so you need to be patient, let the computer sort of figure out what it's doing. Now that that sketch has been OK'd, we can go to the extrude button to extrude, and again you can see what it's trying to figure out there is which bits does it want to extrude. Now you need to be careful, we need to make sure this is coming in as a solid. So not a surface, which might be the default thing that it's trying to do. And so it's solid. And then we've got to be very careful and select the parts of the sketch that we want to extrude. So here we've got the inside of the circle, the outside of the circle, the outside face. And what we want is the inside and the outside. So that's that bit there. We're going to do it at 0.1 millimeters. Makes sense to do one at a time. So there's that one. Then we're going to click on this one. Sometimes you can just click on the whole of sketch 3 and it will do it. But for this, because there's lots of different aspects and layers to this text, it makes sense to do it yourself. All right, so we want the B, including the two little islands in the middle. And then the A, including the one island in the middle of that. Pan across, click the T. Click the S, and you can see it's shading in. It's using up quite a lot of computing power to do this, because there's so many intricate points. Now this is a bit tricky because we've got a line within a line within a line. We've got 3 different aspects. So I'm going to click this one first as the outer ring, and then the swan, quite similar to the Carboys logo, this one. And there's also the little beak, which I might have forgotten if I wasn't careful and zoomed in. And there we go. So that's our Stabilo logo. So now we can OK that sketch. And there we go. Looking pretty good and pretty professional. Okay, so that, in a nutshell, is how you add DXF graphics in vector format into your work. You can use that to add a Staedtler logo onto your pencil. You can also use it to add the Edding logo onto your marker pen later on. You might want to use the Helix logo on your ruler or your protractor or whatever. And there's also a Lego logo if you're messing around with Lego. Like I said, if you want to create your own, you can trace your own by getting a picture off the internet. You can request specific logos if you want by going into this folder. You might be able to leave. Actually, sorry, no, I don't think you can leave comments in there. Well, actually, if you just leave a piece of a work, a folder, a file, maybe a Word document or something in there, requesting it. But probably the easiest thing to do is when you find this helpful resources, is to add a comment. Add a comment in there saying, "Sir, please, can you get the, I don't know, Pizza Hut logo or something like that?" And I'll see what I can do. Okay, there you go, boys. Hope you enjoyed that.